Hello, my wonderful friends. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Sarzana, and we are going to go over all of the 10 books that I read in the month of July. I did not read as much as I had wanted to. I fell into a sort of a reading slump after I read Fourth Wing. I tried my best to remedy that, but there was about 2 weeks where I just went without reading a single thing. I tried to read books, but it was literally like me reading on a page, but the words were not wording. I was not taking anything in, so it was really hard. I called a break from reading for a little bit. I got back into reading and I had a really good month last month. So let's go over the books that I read in the month of July. So I'm going to go over the books that I read in order from the 1st of July to the end. I first picked up Binding 13. I've heard so many good things from you guys about Binding 13 or just the Boys of Tommen series. I see the hype. Binding 13 is about Johnny and Shannon. Shannon has a very traumatic life and Johnny is a rugby player. He's popular. He is the Prince Charming of their school, and Shannon, she has a traumatic life. She gets bullied all the time, and she has now come to Boys of Tommen for a change. She stays to herself. She's very quiet. One day she meets Johnny Kavanaugh, and he starts to become her knight in shining armor. All he wants to do is protect her. Their love story is so sweet, so wholesome, and there were times where I just wanted to cry because I was so upset and frustrated on behalf of Shannon. The stuff that she had gone through is just so unfair, and it was literally like kicking someone while they were already down. Chloe Walsh's writing is just so beautiful. I have fallen in love with her writing. I want to pick up her backlist and read her other books. This book literally convinced me to make her one of my favorite authors. It is a PG-13 kind of book. There is a few romance scenes, which is kind of like Fade to Black, but you're not even gonna care about that if you're looking for something like that. The storyline in this is so fast-paced and you are engrossed in the characters and their relationships, the found family. It is just so beautiful. I give this a 5-star. I cannot wait to read the rest of the books in this series. However, Binding 13 was not enough for me because of the way that it had ended. I had to pick up Keeping 13. The story literally jumps from Binding 13's timeline right into this one, so it could be like one ginormous book. It's nothing like light reading, and there is nothing soft and fluffy about these stories. The way Binding 13 ended and it had jumped into Keeping 13, it seems like a movie. I feel like I'm like friends with these characters, and now that I finished Binding 13 and Keeping 13, I miss Johnny and Shannon so much. So I can't wait to read the next few books in the Boys of Tommen series. They are interconnected romances, and the next 2 books are about Joey and Aoife. I am very excited to see what happens with Joey and Aoife. Joey is Shannon's oldest brother, and this man has gone through it. My heart breaks for him. My heart breaks for Shannon and their family. This is also YA PG-13, Fade to Black, but the moments that we get are so sweet, and there is so much funny banter. I love the journey that we see Johnny take, and I absolutely love Shannon's development throughout Binding 13 into Keeping 13. She becomes so strong. She becomes so confident in herself, and I am here for it. I also gave this 5 stars because how could I not? And then next, I was blessed enough to get an ARC for Marriage and Masti by Nisha Sharma. This is the 3rd and sadly last book in Nisha Sharma's If Shakespeare Was an Auntie series. It had me giggling, kicking up my feet. It had me get butterflies. This was one of the sweetest books I've ever read. I absolutely loved Deepak and Vera's romance. They had such an authentic and wholesome relationship. We see a little bit of Deepak and Vera throughout the first 2 books in the Shakespeare Was an Auntie series, and I was wondering if they were going to end up together or not from dating Dr. Dill. However, the way that Tastes Like Shakkar ended, it made it clear that Vera and Deepak were going to be a thing. And this man had the audacity to be engaged to another woman while he became best friends with Vera. But then he comes to his senses and he's trying to win her over. We have a little bit of a fake marriage situation going on, and it is just so funny in some instances, but some other instances you're like, should you be doing that? Because there are some cultural aspects that come into play along with some religious aspects. And let me tell you, the way these two go at it, they challenge each other, but they also complement each other. They have a very strong friendship that allows them to explore their romantic relationship. I had also given this a 5-star, and I'm so grateful for receiving this arc because I was dying to read it. It will be released on August 27, so please go pick it up as soon as you can. If you love Dating Dr. Dill, if you love Tastes Like Shakkar, or if you just love a good romance, pick this up. It will literally make you giggle and kick your feet up the entire time. This book was absolutely everything I was looking for in a fun romance. And then next, I finally read one of my Fairy Loot books, and it is such a beautiful edition of Hurricane Wars. I like this book so much more than I had anticipated. When I first started reading this, I was going to literally DNF it. But as I kept reading it, it started to become more of a solid 3-star. The storyline was pretty interesting, but at the same time, I felt like there was a lot of holes in the story. This book is about Taliesin and Alaric. Alaric is a prince, and his father is this evil kind of king. And Taliesin, she is a long lost princess. Certain things that had happened that had disconnected her from her family, so she became an orphan, lived a very rough life. From her days of being an orphan, Taliesin and Alaric had fights. This is purely from political war kind of aspects. Then one day, Taliesin finds out that she is a long lost princess. She meets her family, and her and Alaric are basically forced to marry. This is a marriage of convenience kind of trope. Taliesin and Alaric do not get along in any shape or form. This is definitely enemies to lovers. We love that. We have some spicy scenes that heat up through this book. And then we have the fact that the way this book ended, it ended in a way where it felt like if you turn the page, you would still get a little bit more, and there was nothing. By the end of this book, these two are still enemies to lovers, which was very, very frustrating. It was literally just starting to get good. So I'm really looking for the next book in the Hurricane Wars series. This book could have been a little bit better for me. However, the storyline, I can see it developing, so I'm going to give it a chance with the next book. I think it's like the Monsoon Wars or something like that. I am looking forward to that. So we shall see what happens in the next book. I did give this a 3-star. It was a solid 3-star. I don't regret reading it. I see what the hype is about, but I feel like the world building and the character development could have used a little bit more work. However, I can see where this is going. This series definitely has potential, so I'm looking forward to reading the next book. And then I read The Dream Haunters by Megan Mary. This is an arc that I received from Galley. This book is about Hannah Sky. She is having a rough time in life. She is looking for work. She is working really hard to pay her rent and her bills. And financially, she's struggling. Our girl is struggling. And one day, Hannah receives a letter from her Aunt Joella, who is apparently missing now. She receives a call from a detective who lets her know that her aunt is missing. Hannah is concerned because that is the only family that she has left. Her parents have passed away. She has no other kind of connections with any other family members. However, she also has never met her Aunt Joella. For the detective to have come calling. She was curious and she was a bit concerned, so she went to where her Aunt Joella lived. And when she goes there, you guys, it is legit the version of Halloween Town. There we have a sort of a castle, we have pumpkins everywhere. The characters are not well developed. Halloween Town is a lot better, I would say. I love Halloween Town, so don't get me wrong, but the characters in this book were not well developed. I had a really hard time engaging with any of these characters. I had a hard time connecting with them. I could not understand how their relationship with Hannah was connected in any way. Like, I couldn't feel any of the emotional connections between them. Nothing made sense. And I honestly tried so hard not to DNF this. I got to like 80% of it, and then I was just like, I'm so done with this. Like, I cannot read this anymore. So I ended up DNFing it. This is like sort of like Halloween Town. We have witches, we have shapeshifters. This is coming out on October 3rd. So if you're looking for something that's not high stakes, maybe check it out. But it just really wasn't for me. I tried really hard. I can see the potential in this story. I can see the author's vision, but it just wasn't well executed for me. And then I read Twisted Games by Anna Huang. I am in love with this series, okay? Like, when I was trying to get out of my slump, this book got me out of my slump. After Dream Haunters, I was like, maybe I'm in a slump. I just don't want to read anything besides for Fourth Wing. I had some successes with Finding 13 and Keeping 13, and then I just started to go downhill into a slump as I read Hurricane Wars, as I read Dream Haunters. So I was like, let me take a break. And then this beautiful, wonderful book got me out of my slump. This book is about Reese Larson, and it's about Bridget von Ashburg. If you read the Twisted series, you already have met Bridget. We meet her in Twisted Love, which is the first book in Hannah Wong's Twisted series, and Reese Larson is Bridget's bodyguard. Bridget is a princess who is now about to be queen because her brother abdicated his throne. Bridget is next in line, and there is a lot of forbidden love kind of tension in this book, but there's also an attraction between these two that has grown over the span of 2 years, where he has maintained a level of professionalism with her. She has done everything she could to stay annoyed with him. Every time he would tell her not to do something, she would go around his back and do it. And if you read Twisted Love, you see the situation that Bridget gets herself into, and we don't get too much into that in this book since we did in Twisted Love, but their banter is so funny. They are at each other's throats all the time. Reese is all about rules. He is an army man, and he is suffering from PTSD, and he is hell-bent on following the rules and maintaining that professionalism. But when it comes to Bridget, he just can't help himself. I gave this a 5-star. I have no regrets. And in hopes of keeping up with a no slump zone after I read Twisted Games, I picked up Twisted Hate. And this book follows Josh and Jules. Josh is Ava's brother, Ava's older brother, and we meet Ava in book 1, Twisted Love. And Jules is Ava's best friend. So we have a little bit of sister's best friend, enemies to lovers. Like, this book is called Twisted Hate for a reason. These two hate each other. Absolutely hate each other. But they try to get along for Ava's sake. And one day, Josh catches Jules getting mugged. However, she has turned it around. She's holding the robber's gun on him. It's such a funny situation, and I can't get that out of my head because only Jules would be badass enough to do something like that and just make it so comical. Because when Josh walks up to her and he's like, "Are you holding a gun?" And she's like, "He tried to rob me." It is so funny. And then Jules is walking home and Josh is like trying not to act like he cares about her walking home by herself. But then he ends up following her home 20 minutes away from his apartment to make sure that she gets there safely. From there, things just kind of evolve. They start to work together and they see each other more and more. and their attraction for each other is recognized, and they have sort of like a non-friends to lovers kind of relationship. When I say hate sex is a big thing in this book, it's a big thing in this book, to the point where that aspect of hate is thrown out the window at some point. The Hatesmex basically turns their relationship into something a little bit more. From them spending so much physical time together, they start to learn more about one another. They start to find comfort in one another, and their relationship just grows into something so beautiful, so wonderful. However, I must say, towards the end, there's a certain behavior that I just kind of found unacceptable, and that made me want to put the book down. But I wanted to see what else happened, and it did remedy itself towards the end. So I gave this a 4 stars. I'm still not cool with what had happened. I can't talk about it because I will spoil you guys. But just know that I'm not okay with what happened. And then I read a book that exceeded my expectations. I went into this book thinking that I may not like it because the first few chapters were very daunting. I was not a fan of how the storyline was progressing, and I was sitting there thinking like, oh great, I'm gonna have another DNF this month, because if this doesn't pick up soon, I don't know if I can continue. But after like 25-30% of the way through, this book picked up. And this book is titled A Curse of Breath and Blood by K.W. Foster. We have Ayla Springborn. She's basically a queen who turned into a mercenary. She has this superpower where she can go into people's minds and wipe it or manipulate them. And the way this book starts, we meet Kaden and we see Ayla saying goodbye to each other because she's being forced to marry this evil, mean king who does things to her that is just disgusting, that is just very rough. But Ayla manages to get herself out of that situation and she becomes a mercenary. However, she's a drunk. She is suffering from PTSD. There is drug abuse in this book. So if these are triggers for you, then please proceed with caution. The story definitely develops from here, and we have a lot of action-packed scenes. We have found family, we have sort of a second chance romance, and we have promises bounded in magic that cannot be broken, and it is just an insane ride. The magic system is pretty cool, and I had a really good time getting to know our characters, and the story developed into something that I did not expect. And the way that this story ended, it made me so angry. I wanted to throw my Kindle across the room because it's not fair how it ended. I need to have the next book in my hand. This book is the first book in the Mindbreaker series. It is going to be released on September 17 of this year. If you're looking for a good, fun fantasy that is going to rip your heart out, go ahead and check it out. I know I can't wait. I gave this a 4 star and I cannot wait for the second book. And then I listened to the audiobook, the first book in the Lost Legacy series, A Shift in Shadows by Maddox Gray. The way this book started was literally like up here. There was so much action in this book. It was literally like non-freaking stop. Our main FMC, her name is Nemain, and she is a feline shifter. I know. What? And she has some really, really cool magical powers. She can open portals. She can suck out people's powers while she burns them with like this blues Hades kind of light. And she can shift. She has gone through it. Like, she is also like 300 plus years old, which is absolutely fantastic. She has her ex, Sebastian, coming after her. Sebastian wants Nemain's powers because he needs her to basically become the top of the top. He tortures her every year of her birthday. He gives her like a bloody heart from the heart of an innocent or someone she knows, and he even had her tortured for about a year. But Nemain is a fighter. She keeps going, she finds love, she loses it, and she finds it again. Our girl does not give up, and she keeps fighting. She keeps going after Sebastian for revenge, And we have a aspect of found family. The banter in this book is so much fun. Such a cool magic system in this book, and the characters don't let you get bored. Like, you are constantly wanting to pick this book up and continue to read it. When I was reading it, I kept feeling like I was reading something from like Mortal Instruments, because we have demons, we have fae, we have shifters, we have warlocks, we have all these kinds of different magical creatures and powers, and it's just so cool. However, because of the way that this book started, I kind of wished that we had an arc or something before this book, because it felt like we kind of jumped in the middle of something. So if we had an arc, then I feel like it would have made things make a little bit more sense. It took me a minute to understand the magic system and all that, so I gave this a 4-star, but it's a solid 4-star. It's really good. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of this series. And then the last book that I picked up in the month of July is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Oh my goodness, I'm so mad that I waited this long to pick up this book. You guys, someone needs to yell at me or something, because I needed to have picked this up so long ago. I know, Mike, I know. I should have picked this up a while ago. Our main character in this book is Vin, and we also have Kelsier's perspective. Kelsier is someone who has gone through something traumatic, and he is known to the Skas, who are basically slaves in this world. And Kelsier's mission is to free the Ska and to bring down the final empire. We have someone called the Lord Ruler, who is basically like a god. He is such an evil man, but at the same time, I feel like there's more to the story than I've learned so far, because the way this book ended, it left me with so many questions. However, I digress from that aspect. Let me bring you to the beginning. Vin is a orphaned Ska. She's basically owned or is in slavery for a not so kind people who abuse her on a daily basis. Her brother abused her on a daily basis until he left her, and Vin is aching for love. She has something that she thinks is making people calm down or make them happy or something. Like, she thinks that she has some kind of a magical power where she can release that so people calm down and she can soothe them. And then she meets Kelsier, who saves her from that situation, and she realizes that she is a Mistborn. Mistborns are individuals with power to burn multiple metals. So when you burn a specific kind of metal, you have the power to do something significant. And we also have Mistings, who can only burn one metal at a time to do one specific thing. Kelsier is also a Mistborn, so he takes Vin under his wing and he starts to train her. And Vin, being taken under Kelsier's wing, extends her a found family amongst Kelsier's group. His group is a group of rebels who is trying to bring down the final empire. The Lord Ruler is going to go down, and Kelsier is going to do everything in his power to make sure that he brings him down. And there is a lot of action. This world is so rich. The magic system is so unique. The character development in this book is so endearing. The found family of this book is so heartwarming. I had such a good time reading this book. I could not put this down. Brandon Sanderson's writing, I know, has gotten better over the years. However, experiencing Mistborn after I experienced Stormlight Archives, I can see the difference in his writing. But if this is what he was like in the beginning, I am so excited for Wind and Truth, the 5th Stormlight Archive book, because this world is so amazing. I cannot wait to pick up Well of Ascension, because I need to know what happens with Vin in the future and what else she does. We have a little bit of a romance in this book as well between Vin and a certain someone, I was holding on to those little scrumptious little pieces for dear life because it was so precious, and Vin deserves the freaking world. She is such a sweet person. She's so strong. She's so bold, and I am here for her. I cannot wait to read the next book. I gave this 5 stars, and that is a wrap for July. I had some highs and lows last month. However, we had some really, really good reads. I had a lot of 5 stars, and for someone that was going through a reading slump, I call that a high success. Let me know if any of you read any of these books and what you thought about it, or what you are currently reading or read last month. I would love to hear all about it. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you will not miss any videos from me in the future. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.